right, welcome everybody. Welcome to the Fall 2020 Beantown Throwdown. My name is Katya Wald. I'm the Executive Director here at the MIT Enterprise Forum, Cambridge. We're really glad to have all of you online tonight to hear these talented students pitch their startups. Just like everything else this year, this 8th annual event is being done a little bit differently. Typically, right now, we're eating pizza and networking and waiting to hear about 12 students' teams pitch their ideas live and in person. But because we know Zoom fatigue is a real thing, we're breaking up this year's pitch competition in 2 parts, fall and spring. So tonight you're going to hear 6 pitches, and in March 2021, you'll hear 6 more. So I hope you stay tuned for that date. I encourage each of you online here tonight to ask questions during the Q&A period using the chat. We'll try to get as many questions as we can, along with the judges and panelist questions. Also, make sure to introduce yourselves on chat, and if you're feeling bold, share your LinkedIn so people can get in touch with you afterwards. This is my replacement for the in-person networking. And before we get started, I really wanted to thank our annual sponsors who are supporting this event tonight. That's Chen PR, Witham, Caldwell IP, Hamilton Brooks Smith Reynolds, and Morse, and also Net Positive Agency. We really cannot thank them enough for both supporting us and then donating back some in-kind prizes to these students. Tonight's agenda is really simple. We're going to hear 6 pitches followed by 5 minutes of Q&A. Again, if you have questions, I will, in the audience, I'm going to ask them via the chat if it's not from one of our judges. And then after the pitches, the judges are going to hop into another Zoom room and deliberate, and we'll get to hear from our panelists. We'll announce the winner after the panel. And I hope you'll all stay on to congratulate them for winning a whole host of prizes that I'm not going to list off here. They're on the website if you want to read all of them. Our judges tonight are Yadid Eisenberg. He's the global head of sleep devices and director at Bose. He also sits on the MIT Enterprise Forum board. Hello. Ravinder Rathi, who I think was having trouble getting on, so hopefully you'll see his face soon. Jeremy Siegel, who's the Senior VP of Corporate Development at Progress Software. Hi, Jeremy. And Gabby Zeiderveld, who is a judge as well, and is a CMO at Affectiva. All of these judges actually are also board members of the MIT Enterprise Forum Cambridge, so thank you. Thanks very much. Our panelists tonight also are Scott Kirsner, who's the CEO at Innovation Leader and Boston Globe Columnist, and Rudina Seseri, founder and managing director of Glasswing Ventures. I want to thank all of you for joining us and supporting this event. And without further ado, I'm going to ask Babson's team to share their screen, and we'll get started.
Hi, I'm Vaidehi Tembaker, and I'm from Kenya. I'm the co-founder of Boda. So I'd like you to meet Jeffrey Kinyanjui. He's a motorcycle driver in Nairobi. And with the increase in traffic, motorcycles have become a popular mode of transport in all the major cities in Kenya. And he's not alone. There are thousands of other riders that lease or purchase motorcycles to do the same thing and start driving people from one place to the other for a living. And this is especially because this industry has very low barriers to entry. But there's a major problem in this industry. Despite the increase in traffic, we find that these riders have a massive idle time. And why is that? So the current problem with this growing industry is that there is high inconvenience because customers have to leave their premises in order to hail a ride. Safety is an issue because customers do not trust the riders to get them from one place to the other safely due to the lack of training amongst the riders, and high prices. Because this is a highly informal sector, the prices are just not controlled. So our solution is very simple. Boda is a motorcycle taxi hailing application that helps connect these motorcycle drivers to customers. We do both passenger and delivery services. So there are currently 1.4 million motorcycle drivers that live below the poverty line in Kenya. And with Busy Boda, we hope to reduce the riders' idle time by 50% and increase their daily income from $10 to about $15 to $18 a day. So we currently have 400 registered drivers on our platform. And pre-COVID, we had 250 active daily drivers, and we did over 500 trips in a day. We take a 10% commission on all our passenger rides and a 20% commission on all the deliveries. And other than the app, we're really trying to create an impact within this driver community by providing them with pay-as-you-go insurance. So now riders can purchase insurance from us and pay in daily or weekly installments. And we also microfinance these riders in case of emergency situations. In addition to that, we microfinance them so they can invest in additional motorcycles and scale their business and become micro-entrepreneurs. So remember Jeff that I introduced you to? Well, he is now a proud owner of 3 motorcycles since the start of our microfinance program. And we have helped 150 partner drivers invest in additional motorcycles. So our team is comprised of 2 co-founders and a logistics and technical manager. We also have 6 employees that help us at Busy Boda. And just as most other businesses, we've had to change our business model quite a bit since COVID. So we have since significantly reduced the number of passenger rides that we do. We've equipped all our drivers with face masks and hand sanitizer, and we focused on scaling our delivery service. So now we have signed on new clients such as supermarkets, as well as pharmacies as well. We recently signed on a pharmacy with over 30 locations around Nairobi. And we've also tested the beta version of our app, which includes integrating commerce options and connecting customers so they're able to purchase from a list of our select stores, and then these motorcycles can then deliver the items. So since the beginning, these are our accomplishments. We've touched the lives of over 1,500 motorcycle drivers. We've microfinanced 150 partner drivers. We've sold over 1,000 insurances, and we've helped over 20 corporate clients achieve their last mile delivery goals. With or without COVID, these are the goals that we hope to achieve by 2023. In the short term, we want to recruit an tech and operations officer. We want to sign on 20 corporate clients. We want to expand our insurance and microfinance business into 3 more cities. And in the long term, we hope to migrate our app to all the rural areas where the only form of transport is motorcycles. So this will be done either through the app or through a USSD text-based model. So I'm looking to connect with investors that are interested in investing in emerging markets, as well as advisors that will help us grow the business. With the investment, we hope to work towards 3 things: creating a strong brand identity, expanding the app model out of Nairobi and into other cities, and recruiting more experienced and knowledgeable people in the field to help us achieve our strategic goals. To help us help more people like Jeff, please get in touch with me on vtembaker1@babson.edu. Thank you.
Thank you so much. So I'm going to start with feedback from our judges or questions. Jeremy, you want to start?
Sure. That was great. A really cool pitch, and I like the concept a lot. I'm curious. Obviously, this is sort of the Uber for motorcycle hailing in Kenya, and I'm assuming that Uber is not in Kenya, and you have a first mover in that market, or is Uber there as well, but still just focused on car service?
So Uber is in Kenya. They're focused on the car service, but they're also focused on the motorcycle industry as well. I think the way we differentiate ourselves from them is because Uber is solely into doing passenger rides, whereas we're more into doing deliveries, and 75% of our revenue does come from doing deliveries. So that is kind of how we differentiate ourselves. And then with our corporate clients that we engage for deliveries, we actually have long-term contracts. So we have 3-year contracts with all our corporate clients, which gives us a long-term security. So that's how we kind of differentiate from, Uber as our competitor.
Thanks. That's great. And I think it's great that you sign those long-term contracts with the different organizations that you're doing the deliveries for. That's smart.
Thank you.
Yadid.
Great. I really like this. My question is, why did you decide to both serve customers and deliveries? Those are very separate markets. One is B2B, the other is B2C. You have a lot of for customers, as you know, customer acquisition costs are really high, and it seems like you're doing 75% of your revenue from B2B. So why not focus just on that?
Right. So actually, we initially started with the B2C model, and that's kind of what we wanted to get into. But once we started doing a bit more research on the kind of people that were using our service, we realized that a lot of people were using it for deliveries, right? So then that's when we saw an opportunity in the delivery market and decided to focus all our effort on that, because that's when we realized it was quite expensive to acquire individual customers as well. And we decided to focus more on the larger corporate clients. So now we focused on e-commerce clients, and then we have restaurants and transport businesses as well that want to send spare parts from one place to the other. So this has, over time, we've realized this is a better market, and that's why we're focusing all our energy on this. But if we do want to achieve volumes, B2C is kind of the place to get into. But I think we will kind of focus on B2C later as we're able to get more traction within the delivery sector.
Thank you.
Awesome. Gabby.
Yes, hi, excellent pitch. That was very clear. Thank you. I had a question about the insurance and microfinancing. For that, are you partnering with local insurance companies and local banks?
Yes. So in terms of the insurance, we've actually partnered with APA Insurance, which is the largest insurance provider in Kenya, one of the largest insurance providers in Kenya. And what we do is we've come up with an insurance package that combines 4 different products together. So this has the rider's personal accident cover. We cover hospitalization cash. So in case the driver is hospitalized for more than 48 hours, then they're reimbursed all their hospitalization costs. And then we also cover the comprehensive and third-party insurance. So all of that is bundled into one product with this insurance agency that we've partnered with, and the rider pays us in either daily or weekly installments. We sell it to the driver at $75, whereas competition sells it to the driver at $100 for just one of those insurance products. And then again, the drivers have to pay upfront. So that is how we're kind of different within that market. And in terms of microfinancing, we're currently, just because it's small amounts, we're doing it. We haven't really partnered with external agencies. It's us doing it internally.
Excellent. And one last question on the insurance. Do you receive any referral fees or any percentages on insurances sold? And how much do you think this could be a revenue generating business for you?
Right. So we have a partnership with this insurance agency. So we basically get a 20% kind of commission on every insurance sold. And we see right now it is about 25% of our total revenue generated, but we do see it increasing as we expand into other cities as well.
Very interesting. Thank you.
All right. You may be hearing my timer go off. That is the 5-minute Q&A there. So thank you. Thank you for that. I'm going to ask the Conditer from Boston College to come up next.
It's a pleasure to be here this evening. My name is Ilona, and I was born in the beautiful city of Lutsk, Ukraine. My earliest memories were made alongside my mother in the kitchen, where I was quickly nicknamed Conditer, the Ukrainian word for pastry chef. The rest of my time was spent in my closet experimenting with colors, textures, coming up with new trends. And it is through fashion that I really developed a love and appreciation for aesthetics. Now, I know what you're probably thinking. This girl is as confusing as 2020. First she talks about food, now she's talking about fashion. What is going on? I'll need to explain. American celebrity chef Michael Mino once said, "Food is all about the taste." And this is where I strongly disagree. My love for aesthetics is something I've tried my best to carry into the kitchen with me, because I believe that food should not only taste good, but it should also look good. And that is exactly the problem we've noticed. It is hard to find a patisserie where the desserts look and taste great. At Conditer, our goal is to combine taste with aesthetics because looks attract customers, taste keeps them coming back for more. As of 2017, United States sales of baked goods amounted to $58.6 billion annually. The majority of these sweet treats were your average grocery store cakes, cookies, and cupcakes. Consumers are spending billions of dollars on low-quality products simply because something better is hard to find. Furthermore, in the past few years, we've developed amazing new techniques for delivering great food through a variety of different apps like Uber Eats. But dessert has been left behind. If I type in eclairs into my Uber Eats search bar, I'll get like 2 results. So what am I supposed to do if I'm sitting at home social distancing and suddenly I'm just craving a really good piece of cheesecake? Exactly. That's what we're wondering. So this brings me to our competitive advantage. Conditer was founded as an online patisserie. So remember like 10 years ago, there was no such thing as Instacart, Uber Eats, or Drizzly. People did not buy their food online. But even more surprising, as of 2019, a study conducted by Deutsche Bank Securities found that only 3% of US grocery sales were happening via the internet, compared with other countries like South Korea, where it was 20%. This means that the US market for online food has enormous potential for growth, especially in light of events like a national pandemic, where people now prefer to avoid public places. So as of right now, Conditer has a one-sided business model, meaning we are producing the product being delivered to consumers. But there's a two-dimensional approach to the problem we're trying to solve. From one side, we've seen a clear deficit of high-quality desserts, products that look and taste great. Compared to France, Italy, other countries, we're behind. So in terms of production standards, Conditer is looking up to brands like Ladurée, the golden standard for pastries with locations all over the world and more than $1 billion in annual revenues. In terms of execution, we're looking to brands like Uber Eats. So the businesses that do offer high-quality desserts, there may not be many of them, but they do exist, they're not getting serviced by Uber Eats and Grubhub. These providers are focusing primarily on savory food, and high-end patisseries don't care to get lost among the sushi restaurants and the pizza places. So if Conditer becomes an Uber Eats for dessert, consumers will have easier access to high-quality desserts under one centralized carrier, instead of resorting to products that are easily accessible but lower quality, like your average grocery store cookie. So Conditer has been operating for a little more than 1.5 years. Our primary market was initially Boston College students and professors. Within a short period of time, our social media following grew to more than 3,000 followers, and we began taking orders in the state of Massachusetts. To date, we have sold nearly more than 2,000 pastries, and 63% of our customers return within 1 month to make additional purchases. Currently, we have maxed out on production capacity with growing wait lists and bookings weeks in advance. And as the founder of a company, it is one of the worst feelings in the world to tell a potential customer, sorry, we can't take your order because we're booked. As of right now, Conditer isn't even engaging in active marketing because the current demand is beyond production capacity, which brings me to our company goals. Given the resources, we are confident that Conditer can quadruple in size within 1 year. Our goal right now is to achieve $300K in revenues by the end of 2021. And in order to do this, we are raising money to rent commercial kitchen space as soon as possible. This will guarantee that we can not only fulfill our current demand, but we can also increase advertising and expand beyond the state of Massachusetts. In the long term, Conditer will become the Ladurée of the United States, the Drizzly of dessert, and the Chanel of the pastry world. Thank you for your time, and I wish you all a very sweet, pun intended, evening.
All right, thank you. I'm going to start the other way around. We'll start with Gabi.
Yeah, thank you. Excellent. And I'm very excited to learn about Conditer because I know firsthand, having lived in Boston for 25 years, how difficult it is to find European-style pastries, and I miss them. So I'm super excited personally to learn about your business. And I really do like your tagline. Where you're striving to be the Chanel, if you will, of the pastry world. Very cool. I did have a very operational or logistical question. Eclairs might still look great 2 days later, but are not going to taste that great if they sit around for a while. So how are you handling shipping, cooling? Yes, and is the cost calculated onto the customer? How are you handling that side of the business?
Yes, thank you for your question. That is a question of logistics. The answer is that there have been a lot of great increases in packing technologies. Companies deliver perishable goods all the time, and there's ways to make them last. In terms of costs, as of right now, because we're delivering more locally, we don't have very high costs associated with delivering perishable goods like to another state. If that were to happen, we would probably go down the avenue of opening alternative kitchen locations closer to key cities, large cities. In terms of what we're doing right now within the state of Massachusetts, within the greater Boston area, it is still possible using packaging technologies to deliver perishable goods fresh, preserve them, keep them cold, whatever's necessary, and maintain high quality without losing a lot of the food item.
Okay, very clear. Thank you.
Yadid.
Well, I love desserts as much as the next person or the previous one, and European style desserts are definitely something I miss as well. So I'm also excited to use this. I have a very practical question. What is the average sale look like? How many dollars does on average a person spend? And then if you can go into your just an ideal margin, what does the range look like there for a sale?
Currently, our macarons are priced, we carry 3 primary types: macarons, eclairs, and cakes. Our macarons are priced at $2.50 a piece, and that is below market price compared to our competitors. So there's still room to increase prices if we had to do that. Eclairs are priced at $5 a piece, and cakes are around $75. And once again, all those prices, there's still room for growth. In terms of sales and quantity of sales, it depends on the order. For example, there were a few very large orders that I've received in the past. For example, wedding catering, party catering. In terms of that, you're speaking 600 macarons for one order. So 600 macarons at $3, if we were to raise $3, that's almost $1,000. Have a few of those orders stacked up within 1 month. Every weekend, you're looking at a couple of $1,000s. In terms of like the average order made by one person, it can range anywhere from a box of macarons, which carries 6 items, to 2 boxes, 3 boxes, depending once again on whether it's for the individual or if it's a party or if it's for friends as a gift.
And do you envision mostly that most of your sales will be to more of the
well, the avenue we were hoping to go down is to begin catering larger events. One, because it's more efficient in terms of costs. If you can make 600 macarons for one event delivered to one location, you're cutting fuel costs, you're cutting delivery costs, you're cutting time. So that is probably the avenue we would go down or be more inclined to go down. But once again, that comes down to resources, commercial kitchen space, and that's something that we don't yet have.
Got it. How much does a macaron cost you?
A macaron costs me to make around 80 cents.
80 cents. Oh, great. Thank you.
Margin. So I'm going to ask for Ravindra, who somehow can't get on and in person. So I'm going to ask him his question through chat. He says, is funding the only restriction for growth for you right now?
As of right now, yes, because in terms of everything else, I've seen immense potential. I've seen the demand. It's there. It's overwhelming. I can't meet it currently because of the restriction on funding and commercial kitchen space. So as of right now, that's our primary goal, to get that out of the way, which is what I plan on doing, hopefully, as soon as possible.
Great. Jeremy?
I was just curious to hear if you'd given any thought to a subscription model as well as part of your business strategy, particularly since you're catering to these college kids, and or that's one of the markets that you were catering to, and just to create some additional certainty from a revenue stream standpoint.
Well, subscription models are enticing. It is something that I have thought about in the past. The reason why I didn't do it is it goes back to our customer retention. Most of our customers, without having to subscribe, are coming back anyways, putting in additional orders after their first time. And in addition to that, what I try to do if, for example, there's a growing wait list and there's customers who aren't able to place an order, the following time orders open, I give them priority status. So having a subscription model would be a little difficult to fulfill the demand of new customers.
Helpful.
Great. So
I love the European desserts too, even though I'm not from Europe. So.
Well, if this was a live event, I would invite you all up on stage and give you free samples, but I can't do that, so.
That is unfortunate.
Well, I know.
Okay, my timer just went off. Thank you so much. I'm going to ask the team from Brown now to share their slides.
All right. So, hey, everyone. I'm Justin, and I'm a senior at Brown, and I'm one of the co-founders of Cress Health. And here at Cress, our mission is to democratize access to mental health resources for all. And we recently created the Callie App, which is an AI-driven personal wellness companion that makes taking care of your mental health simple. So our nation is currently facing a huge mental health crisis, with 1 in 3 Americans feeling signs of depression or anxiety since last March. And people are realizing now more than ever about the importance of taking care of their mental health. And they're looking for convenient resources that they resonate with. That's why this year alone, we've seen a meteoric rise in adoption of digital mental health apps of 66%. Yet current mental health app product offerings are really surprisingly limited. I personally felt this when I struggled with my mental health and looked for my own self-care solutions. And I talked with over 300 peers who experienced similar pain points. And here are the 3 key limitations that I found after those bottom-up conversations. So first, current mental health apps are just way too one-dimensional. And that means that they only focus on one wellness technique, whether it be meditation for headspace and calm, or cognitive behavioral therapy for WOBOT. And the thing is that mental health is not one size fits all. And a wellness technique that works for one person may not necessarily work for another. And really second is that current options completely lack lifestyle personalization. And it's really well known that lifestyle habits and choices like sleep, exercise, and even hobbies and interests can have huge positive impacts on your mental health, but current options really fail to account for them. And third, and this is something that I've heard personally time and time again, it's that caring for your mental health can have a huge learning curve, especially for first-time people. And I've experienced this myself, and 300 others have also resonated with this, and it's that current apps don't really do a good job guiding the user, and they can be kind of intimidating and can discourage users from continuing with their products. So these limitations are what inspired us to create the Callie app. Basically, using a diverse library of over 1,000 wellness techniques, Callie uses artificial intelligence to create a personalized mental wellness regimen every morning for the user. And we also incorporate lifestyle habits like sleep, exercise, and hobbies and interests to create a regimen that actually makes sense for a user's specific lifestyle. And finally, Callie was really designed to be a companion and guide the user every step of the way of their mental health journey. And it does that through daily journaling check-ins, through interactive positivity content, and reports that show long-term trends in wellness. So our business model is a freemium subscription as a service model where the user pays $5 per month or $40 per year for a premium subscription, which basically entails unlimited use of all the features of the Callie app. And given the huge mental health need right now, we see this as an over $4 billion revenue opportunity. And in terms of our progress up to date, so we just recently completed product development, this most recent September, and completed beta testing last month. And we actually officially launched on the Apple App Store earlier this month, so around 2 weeks ago. And have so far seen pretty considerable growth. We already have over 180 users, with 28 being paying customers, and we've seen around $1,000 in revenue so far, all with $0 in customer acquisition costs. Now, in terms of next steps, we plan to release our app to Android users in the coming week, And we also plan for a major product update, really featuring upgraded personalization this December. And at this stage, we're really trying to improve our product with user feedback. So our ask is that everyone can try and spread awareness about Callie, which we believe can help hundreds of millions of people during this time. And yeah, that's it. Thank you so much for listening. And I'm now open for any questions from the judges.
Great, thank you so much. I'm going to start in the middle now and go with Yadid first.
Great, really fantastic. I think this is a really important problem, really interesting space. So have you given some thought to, I know it's really early and really not enough user data, but some thoughts on retention. How do you create an experience which is sticky? And I know that as you noted, for some of these other apps, retention is a huge problem. People fall off the wagon. It's really hard. It requires also some behavior change, which as humans is very difficult for us. What are your thoughts on that?
Absolutely. So in terms of retention, so we have multiple kind of ways to really increase that. First is we really try to gamify and make this as fun as possible for the users. So every single morning when we deliver a personalized mental wellness regimen, we make it like a streak, kind of like in Snapchat, where basically users can kind of keep their streak as they continue to use the app. We also have notifications that are delivered every morning and occasionally every night, just to make sure the user can continuously use the app and be reminded about it. And also all of our content also is completely in-house and belongs to us. So if the user ever wants to do an exercise, they have to use our app as well.
Great, thank you.
Awesome. Jeremy.
That was really cool, and I definitely think it's something that's relevant right now, and even relevant outside of COVID. So I think it's great that you guys are taking the initiative. Just a couple questions. I'm curious with regards to the freemium versus the $5 a month, $40 a year piece. A couple questions. So what do you get in the free version versus what else do you get when you're paying $5 and $40? And have you thought about some sort of tiered model with additional features to have different pricing tiers as opposed to just the single?
Absolutely. So in terms of kind of the pricing model we have set, so first of all, the premium version can either be paid $5 per month or at a more discounted price of $40 per year. So essentially it's the same kind of version you're paying for, just different like pricing kind of intervals. And basically the free version still includes pretty important features like our mental wellness journaling, our mindfulness journaling every day, and also allows the user to continuously track their progress in terms of their mental health. But our premium feature really incorporates all of the components in Callie, especially the personalization aspect. So we actually offer a free trial for the user for 7 days before they can make a choice whether to stay on free or whether to kind of convert to premium.
That's great. Thank you.
Gabby.
Yeah, hi, thank you. Completely agree with the other judges. It's a very important space and certainly more opportunity there for an app like Callie. You mentioned it's an AI-driven solution. Can you tell us a bit more about the AI that you're using and what makes this an AI solution?
Absolutely. So essentially, we have over 1,000 kind of wellness exercises for the user, ranging from meditation to self-guided self-affirmations to breathing exercises, etc. So essentially, we have also a set of metrics, emotional health metrics and mental health metrics that we always ask the user through check-ins, and we see how these wellness exercises really improve these set of metrics over time. And we use that through deep learning techniques. And essentially, we also incorporate lifestyle factors of the user and really try to get a persona of the user and really categorize certain wellness exercises that would most fit their lifestyles.
Great, thank you.
We have one more time for one more question. I'm just looking through. Sorry, I'm looking through the chat here. Is there an opportunity to monetize the user data you will collect?
Yeah, so we don't plan to monetize our user data just because we really value the security and privacy of the mental health data of our users. So no, we don't plan to do that.
Okay. Great. I've lost a little bit track of time because I'm doing a little troubleshooting on the back end. So I'm going to assume that we've hit the 5 minutes. I'm sorry if I'm shorting you just a little bit, but we're going to go on to the MIT team. Thank you, Justin.
Thank you.
Awesome. So hello, everyone. My name is Brooke Wages, and it is such a pleasure to come and talk to you about Surge Employment Solutions, the company at which I am the CEO and founder. We are a headhunting and staffing service that specifically works with formerly incarcerated people. We've been around for 2 years, and there's a lot of things I could talk to you about, things that we've done and things that we want to do. But first, I think it's good to start with our first customer. Alan is a fantastic entrepreneur who works and has a small business in Ulstead. He has around 35 employees, and they do small jobs at general contracting jobs, mold remediation, asbestos work. So Alan has had a booming business. He's been running this business for 20 years. And the hardest part, the part that keeps him up at night, is all of the jobs that he is pushing away because he cannot find and retain individuals that have the specific character traits, the specific values, the specific certifications that are required for his business to continue running. Lisa is a fantastic social worker at a nonprofit, Dorchester Bay Economic Development Corporation, here in the Boston metro area. And over the past 20 years, she's been working with formerly incarcerated individuals, helping them transition out of prison into the workforce. She's known Jay, who was one of our first placements, for a significant amount of time. He was, when we met him in 2019, he had been out of prison for 8 years. And he was incarcerated for an auto-related offense. Since being out, he had been working jobs, but it's been very difficult for him to get something where he could save or even just pay all of his bills. And it was not in alignment with his goals of sending his daughter to college. So this is where Surge comes in. We are a workforce development and staffing company that focuses on highly skilled roles and putting formerly incarcerated people into jobs that are not only provide a living wage, but allow people to save, that have full benefits. We have a 5-step process in doing this. First, we secure staffing contracts. We talk to organizations like Allen and help them bring in cohorts of individuals who have had criminal records. We talk to them about the certifications that are necessary, the things that the job is required, the general, the values of the organization, the heart and soul, the personality of the organization. Once we have a signed headhunting or staffing contract, we go to source and talk to individuals like Lisa at our network of community organizations. They know so many people and have relationships with so many people. Based off of our requirements, they're able to provide a character references through our nomination portal. And we require that they've known and worked with the individual for at least 6 months to be able to speak to some of the things that they've done and how they would perform at a job. Our 2.5 stage is where individuals that are possibly working, so potential employees, get to meet with the potential employers, giving both groups a lot of agency to decide if this is a really great organization for them to join, or if these are really good employees that the hiring manager would like to bring into their organization. After everything is set and we're all happy, we cover all of the training costs that handle professional certifications, that handle any kind of professional, personal development programs, anything that's technical, we cover it all. Afterwards, we end up placing the individuals at the company, but that's not where we end. We continue to build and develop a relationship in partnership with the case manager. We do one-on-one career coaching and also group mentorship, and provide those services to ensure that retention is maintained and also that people properly transition into a new industry. Speaking of industries, there are lots, and we've had a lot of interest from a lot of groups. But one industry that we're particularly interested in, because because of COVID is the trucking industry. They have around 100% turnover every year and cost about $8,000 to onboard someone. We know that we can improve retention and place people in these roles. With our TAM, we're expecting, if we bring in cohorts of 50 individuals at a headhunting fee of $11,000 each, we'll have around $20 billion. So, revenue projections, the numbers. We have been around for 2 years. So we have generated revenue during our pilot program in 2019. Took 2020 to really reorient, make sure that and further hone our process. And now in 2020, we are excited to announce that we have a contract bringing in a cohort of 50 individuals in a headhunting manner. So right now, this slide is talking to you about how we are transitioning from headhunting to a staffing model. Headhunting does not require as much capital and is something very quick. But staffing really gives us an opportunity to ensure that individuals have the benefits that they need and also give us a larger return on our investment. The LTV for staffing is around $11,000, which I had mentioned previously, but for a staffing model is closer to $40,000. Because we are transitioning from headhunting to staffing, it is going to impact our gross profit margin and our anticipated revenue in our anticipated earnings in 2022, but that's really due to the switching from headhunting to staffing, but we are very confident that we will be able to do it well. So 2021, we are super excited. We are a team from individuals, all women, from MIT, Harvard, BU, and Wellesley. We are looking for folks who want to join our team in an operational capacity and also individuals who are interested in volunteering. We need career coaches. We need individuals to help with mock interviews. Please visit the link on our slide to sign up, or feel free to give me an email. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Brooke. I'm going to start with Jeremy because you're the first person I see.
I think that Brooke, I think it's really, really great, and I think it's awesome that you're looking for ways to get that population to have more certainty in their careers and be able to do the things that you're enabling them to do. So I think it's really, really awesome. I'm still struggling with the headhunting staffing piece, but I'm just curious. You said you talked about generating revenue in 2019 and 20. I'm curious because I didn't see those numbers on the graph. I'm just curious to see what the revenues were in those first couple years of doing this.
Yes. So revenue, I'm unmuted, correct? So revenue in 2019 was $10,000. We had 3 companies. We signed a contract with them so they could help us give us feedback. So we gave them a discounted rate. 2020, we recognized that being full-time students it's not necessarily prudent to be full-time students and make sure you're juggling the livelihoods of individuals, which is why the majority of our team is taking a year off this academic year to really fully commit and make sure that we can meet our goals.
That's great.
Awesome. I'm going to move to Yadid.
So this is really great. I'm aware that there is I think a few other agencies that do similar. I mean, not exactly the same process, but they employ or find employment for incarcerated individuals, previously incarcerated. What do you think your kind of special sauce is? How do you differ? What makes you unique?
Yeah, absolutely. So there are generally 2 types of organizations. So organizations who CEO, which is a Center for Employment Opportunity, is one of the largest organizations that's sort of in this space. They take individuals that are fresh out of, who've just been released and help them in doing like yard work. There are a lot of other organizations that kind of track people into entrepreneurship or into culinary arts. We recognize that and really are focused on only placing individuals where they have like average salary that we're looking at is around $60,000-$70,000 a year with benefits. And the reason we're able to do that is because we pay for all of these certifications that really set them apart in industries where there just aren't enough people. So there are like 5 million openings for highly skilled trade workers, and we focus on those particular industries.
Great. And one question. So given that you're investing all of this time in certifications and coaching, what do you think it costs you to place actually a single individual, given the fact that you have to employ all these resources?
Yeah, absolutely. So because we do it in a cohort model, it actually makes a lot of sense. And that's why when I was hitting our TAM, we were focusing on companies that have at least 20 trucks in their fleet. So right around, for the trucking model, it'll cost us around it's going to cost us around $3,000 to do all of the soft skill training and all of the mentorship after they've gone to handle the, after they've been placed. And then right around $4,000 to $6,000 for the actual training. The certifications, the training fees for the commercial truck driving license.
Thank you.
Awesome. Gabby?
Yeah, thank you for your pitch. And I also agree it's an excellent business to focus on this population that's often too much neglected. So I do love that a lot. I would love to learn a little bit more about your team because it also sounds like there's a lot of different types of skill you need, right? So for example, you're looking at the trucking industry and you're selling into the trucking industry. So you want some expertise in that area, but it's also human resources. It's training, coaching, professional development. What does your team look like, and how do you think you're going to scale your team? What skills do you need in the future?
Yeah, that's a great question. So myself, I studied mechanical engineering. I ran projects and hired folks who are highly skilled, and that's how I recognized this need. Also have been working with currently or formerly incarcerated people for over 7 years in a volunteer capacity and sitting in groups. We have our CFO is Allegra Sinnott. She actually has her Master's of Education and Workforce Development it's not workforce development, Master's in Education and focused on workforce development at Harvard Grad School of Education. We have Sarika Ram, who is focuses on, she's our COO. She focuses on retention. She has a lot more to do with criminality. She did a lot of research on reentry with the ACLU. We have individuals who focused on telling stories, and that's Emily, who's from Wellesley. So she is communications, does a lot of storytelling, and has focused a lot more on coaching, especially since we're working with individuals who generally don't have experience in the particular industry that they're pivoting into. Understanding and breaking out their story, understanding what those transferable skills are, and being able to connect with people has been really exciting. So, I mean, we are a rough and tumble team. We also we have a few other interns on our team as well. So there are about 5 of us. So when it comes to scaling, I think the biggest gap, to be transparent, I think the biggest gap is case management. We need someone specifically when it comes to developing and maintaining that relationship, someone who's on our staff, since we do have a network of community partners. It's been nice because I have a lot of friends who are social workers, and there's already a social worker tied to each person that we're placing. But really retaining those things within our organization has been helpful. Also, I don't want to go too long, but also advisors have been incredibly supportive.
I got to cut you off. I'm sorry.
Okay, well, we have great advisors that know a lot of things as well.
Sorry about that, Brooke, but make sure everybody who continues to have questions to send them in chat or in Q&A, and Brooke, you can type in your answer there, and you can answer them. I realized. So, Any of the questions that came in for any of the other teams too, you guys can go back and read them and type in your answers to those folks as well. Thank you, Brooke. Next up, we have the team from Tufts.
Okay, amazing. So hi, everybody. My name is Jeffrey, and I'm one of the co-founders for Cogna Technology. I want to talk about sleep because it's really interesting how back then we used to sleep twice a day, once in the morning and once at night. And then we invented the alarm clock so we could wake up pretty much whenever we wanted. And, it's actually even pretty crazier that even back then we actually had to hire people to wake us up. We call them knocker-uppers. They come to our apartments and hit on our windows to wake us up. And despite all these different evolutions in the way we sleep, we still aren't sleeping well enough. And I'm sure many of us have far too often stayed in bed, unable to sleep, and only to feel horrible the next day. And so that's why at Cogna, we have a solution. It's a wearable device, and it's a device you wear around your head for just 20 minutes before going to sleep. It uses safe levels of electrical current to induce sleepiness. And it does this through a method called TDCS, which is transcranial direct current stimulation. And thousands of peer-reviewed studies have shown that it is safe, and there have also been studies to show that it is effective in inducing sleepiness. As I mentioned before, you only need to wear it for 20 minutes before you sleep, not while you sleep. What this means is you can continue your nightly routine. So keep watching Netflix, keep reading books, or keep spending time with your family, because once those 20 minutes are up, simply remove the device and head to bed as you normally would. We know every brain is different, and that's why we will be personalizing the stimulation for each individual. We'll measure your brain waves, and based on that information, determine the most optimal stimulation settings just for you. Not only that, no FDA approval is needed for our device. Right now, there isn't really a FDA regulatory pathway for this device, but what that also means is that we can sell this directly to consumers. Regarding our market size, we know that the sleep tech market is growing and it's very big. However, we had to make a lot of assumptions for this because we were unable to get specific information on sleep wearables. But what we do know is that the sleep tech market is about 44 million Americans, encompassing about $10.2 billion. Specifically for a SAM, we want to hit our target users, which are between the ages of 25 and 34. So working professionals that are relatively young and willing to try new technology. And so this is about 11 million Americans, which hits about $140 million. For us, we believe that for our SOM, in our first year of launching, we can hit 2,500 people. And we got this value through looking at similar Kickstarter campaigns and seeing their average backer rate. We anticipate on selling our device for about $300 a unit, which hits about $750,000 in revenue. I can talk more about this pricing later, but a lot of assumptions were made, and this pricing was based on a value-based pricing. We know the market is tough. We have adjacent competitors like Dream and Philips, which sell devices for about $500, $400. So we know that our price range is well within that. We also have indirect competitors like AlphaStim, which is a medical device, and of course drugs like melatonin. But we have several key advantages that we believe can differentiate us from the market. We personalize your stimulation, and most importantly, you wear us before you sleep, not while you sleep, so you can keep and retain your nightly routine. Although the competition is tough, I believe we have an amazing team, and I couldn't be more happy and proud of our team. We have health technology experience from Johnson & Johnson, Oscar Health, research experience from U.S. Army Natick and BrainCo, and engineering design experience from TripAdvisor, NextJump, Bloomberg, Gigabyte, BrainPower, and of course, Tufts University. And we've made a lot of progress since this was just, a small idea that a few friends of mine came up with in our small dorm room. We ended up winning the Tufts Ideas competition in 2018 and participated in the Gordon Institute Accelerator. We then won a Tufts 100K Ventures competition, and we have been working with the IRB in order to conduct our first research study. But due to the COVID-19 situation, we've been unable to do that for the time being. But we've been able to reach 500 people with a survey and get valuable feedback, have 250 subscribers on our mailing list, and conduct 25 interviews. We also now have an MVP, and next week we are launching the marketing campaign for our beta tester program. We anticipate to hit 60,000 people through Google and Facebook ads, and we want to have 20 people specifically on our beta tester program. And this program is probably the most important thing for us right now. Our goals are to see, is there a desire for it? We're going to be able to get our customers, get values for our customer acquisition costs and test hypotheses, especially on our beachhead market. We want to know, does our device work? We want objective data and we need subjective data. We're able to get subscriptions from Sleep Cycle so we can actually measure the quality of sleep as well as how long it takes people to fall asleep when and when not using our device. And we want to know, how does it work? we need to, really evaluate the user behavior, because we don't know how people are going to use a device like this. This is unique in its own category. We don't know the frequency. And that's why this information is indispensable to our business model, because we could even do a hardware subscription model, or it might just be simply a device that people buy right away. Just to give a little insight, here's one of our prototypes. Unfortunately, you might be able to see it, but in order to conduct electricity, you need specific electrodes, and these electrodes can't be reused. So we might even do a subscription model for that specifically. But the main point is, this beta tester program is very important, and we will be able to answer a lot of our assumptions. We want to help people not just dream while they sleep, but also live their dreams while they're awake. And so what we're looking for right now, we're not fundraising. We're looking for advice and help, and we would really value your feedback. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. I'm actually going to start with Yadid, because in our practice session, you mentioned that there was going to be someone from Bose on there. So I'm going to let him answer the question first, or ask a question first. Sorry.
Well, this is near and dear to my heart, this topic. So I think this is a great idea. A few questions. One is, how much does a device cost you to make?
Right now, we're estimating it's around $90 to $100. We've included an extra $10 on the buffer, but we know that these costs can really decrease if we are able to up our production. Right now, we're even using like the full evaluation boards even for our prototype.
On average, how does this device decrease the sleep onset latency?
So that's a great question, and we don't know the answers to that. There have been about a few studies that have shown this device can help induce sleepiness through objective measures, but we don't know, how much time we can reduce it by. And that's why we want to do this beta tester program, because, it's going to go on for a month, and we anticipate it to launch early next year, so January, February. And we can, like I said before, measure how long it takes people to fall asleep without using our device and with our device.
Great. Thank you.
Of course.
Jeremy?
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, it's really cool. If someone who sometimes struggles to fall asleep, I love these ideas. But I guess I'm curious, like, how do you anticipate, in addition to the Google and Facebook ads, how do you envision like getting people to sort of back this, endorse this? Like, are you talking to folks in the medical community? Are you getting doctors to sort of be part of this? Like, because I'm just trying to sort of, it's not a cheap device, so I'm not necessarily just going to buy it based on seeing a Facebook ad. But if my doctor was recommending it to me, or there was some other recommendation, and I'm just curious how you're thinking about that.
Yeah, we would. So we're also looking for advisors specifically in the neurotech area, and also doctors that have experience with sleep to become our advisors. And to answer your question, okay, how are we going to convince people to purchase our device through Facebook ads? So just to clarify, for our beta tester program, we're not going to be charging anybody for the device at this moment. We just want to really just get user feedback. And so that's why we do believe that we will be able to get a lot of people to opt into this program, because they won't have to pay. But we do want to get feedback from users to see how much they would be willing to pay for this device. And also, we value research. And so that's why down the line, when we officially launch, we want to ensure we have research studies to support our device and its efficacy and safety, as well as exactly like you said, doctors who can vouch for our device.
That's great. Thank you.
Gabby?
Yeah, thank you. Really interesting space. So very curious to see how this evolves. I was wondering, is this mostly hardware, or is there a software component as well? And are you, for example, envisioning in the future to have some type of consumer app with personalization and configuration settings? How are you handling that?
Yeah, so we do have a companion app, and that is the way that users would control the device. A thing I had mentioned before is that we want to personalize the experience and solution for every person, because every brain is different. And so we will be measuring your brain waves, and based on that information, we will determine what's the most optimal stimulation settings for you at that current time. Now, of course, we've been thinking about, okay, how exactly are we going to implement this? We do plan on using, for example, like a recurrent neural network in technical terms, but we don't really know too much about the data laws on, can we use a specific person's data to improve this, or can we use everyone's data? That's something we still need to figure out. But that's why we're still very open to having advisors who can help put us in a direction to see, okay, why don't you use this to personalize everyone's solution, or we can have a solution that helps everyone else as opposed to individualized.
Thank you.
Last but not least is Wentworth.
Thank you everyone for being here. I'm really excited. So just to kick off things, how many people here have ever had a bad hair day? Perfect, wow. So, well, for those wondering, for everyone here, clearly we've experienced a bad hair day. For people with Afrocentric hair, a bad hair day takes a different persona, a different image. Historically in this country specifically, people with Afrocentric hair have experienced discrimination as well as a lack of resources to really maintain their natural hair. And this has very negative impact. As we can see, a lot of students, just for being able to take care of their hair, get banned from school, or in even worse cases, they get their dreads cut off at wrestling matches. And this is seen across the nation. And it's an issue that I really believe, especially in the time that we're in, that really needs to be looked at, and really there needs to be a platform created. So what's really the problem we're looking at? People want to wear their natural hair out. People want to celebrate Afrocentric hair, but there's a lack of knowledge on how to take care of it, as well as a lack of resources. That's where we come in. Hi, so I'm Manny. I'm the CEO and co-founder of Watch the Krown, and we're a luxury lifestyle hair care brand, and our mission is to empower people around us. We've been around since 2018, and recently, starting in 2019, we started creating products, as you can see right here. We've had about 3 product releases, which you can see from the very top one all the way across the screen. All amazing colors, and all of these cater to different people with different styles, and they all serve a different purpose. We've sold about 400 units each, and with these prices, they vary about $12 each. As we're very engaged in our community in Boston, we've done multiple pop-up shops, whether it's us hosting it ourselves or us participating in it. And even despite COVID taking a toll, we've been able to participate in either virtual or socially distanced pop-up shops, the most recent one down in the Yukon area. So today I want to talk to you about the Care App. What is it exactly? It's a marketplace catered to people with Afrocentric hair. We provide personalized routines, tips, hairstylists for your texture or hairstyle. So what happens is you hop onto our app and you're given a quiz, and we get all the information that we need. And in return, we give you the products that you need. We give you the styles, the tips, and everything that you really need to make sure that you specifically are taken care of. How does it work exactly? So after this, and what makes us different from everyone else, you get your products shipped directly to you. I believe this is a key fact, especially in the era that we're living in right now with COVID. People are very scared to step outside their households, even if it's for the necessities that they need. So an opportunity like this to get something straight to your door that you need is very perfect. We also work with up-and-coming hair care brands, which are similar to ours, and we pair them with our products to provide bundled packages to our consumers. So this not only helps us gain affiliate fees from local brands, but this also allows us to continue to push our products into the market. But overall, we really prioritize the experience of the consumer and making sure that at everything that we do, same with our mission, our goal is to empower them, make sure that they feel as comfortable. One of our slogans is look royal, feel royal, which means not only does your hair look good, not only do you have the products to make it look good, but also as you go out into society and as you go out, you feel good as well. And so we're looking at a market of about 2.5 billion and growing. And this is excluding accessories. So looking back to a couple of slides where you saw our products, those classified as accessories. So we're in a market that hasn't even been able to be looked at fully. And now bringing in a market that has $2.5 billion already in it, we're really looking at something that can explode. Now, looking at our competitors, obviously Amazon is a big one. They offer a lot of convenience, and our next one, which sits closely to us, is Pros, which is an app that's very similar to us. And the last thing is your local beauty supply stores. But the one thing that sets us apart from all of those is the fact that we provide personalized tips to people. And I believe with that, especially with people really looking to find things that cater to them specifically without having to use extra time to look for other things, it's something that will stand out. So what are we really looking for? We're not necessarily looking for capital, but we're really looking for people to join our team. We're looking for iOS app developers as well as Android app developers. We really feel like we have a good foundation for this plan, and really want to get it started and really get it rolled out to our community. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I'm going to start now with Gabby.
Thank you so much for this presentation. Very cool. I'm also very interested in hearing more from you, what you've been hearing from the community that you're targeting in terms of what their express needs are today, right? Because you said that there is competition, and whenever you hear that Amazon is competition, that also sounds very scary. But in, I guess, the market research that you've done with your target community, what are you hearing from them that Amazon is not giving, that is giving you guidance on how you're going to build your app? I'd love to hear more about that.
So what we've been hearing is that Amazon is just a general marketplace. They have a lot, and their biggest thing is convenience. But their biggest thing isn't personalization. And so that's really where we come in. We make sure when you come onto our app, we're constantly updating and really working with you to see what do you need in that moment of time. And so, looking at whether it's you want to try a new hairstyle, okay, you punch that in. We already know your texture. We already know all the little details about your hair. So we know the exact product that's going to work for you. We even know hairstylists within your area that you can go to if you need help. Or even, let's say, for college students, we wake up, we want to go to a party, but we just don't have the things that we need to get our hair ready that day. Within an hour, you hop onto our app, you choose your hairstyle, and you can get those products delivered straight to you. So that level of personalization as well as convenience is something that we don't believe other platforms have been able to reach.
Oh, that's really interesting. And it immediately kind of spawned an idea for me is in terms of that personalization, something like a Stitch Fix comes to mind, right? Are you thinking maybe even in the future when you have all this data on your users, you could start proactively sending them the type of products that you think based on their individual profile they might need?
Yeah, so I think another thing that we wanted to look into was some sort of, and subscription might not be the specific word for it, but really tracking how much they use a certain product and really setting up a way in which, okay, you pay this and you pay this certain amount a month, and what will happen is we'll pre-send you the package that you need. Let's say we know you use this bottle of conditioner up to this amount and you always run out and you come back to us, okay, way before you even run out, here it is, straight at your door.
Yeah. It's also matching that convenience, right? That they
yes.
through Amazon. Okay, that's great. Thank you very much.
No problem.
Awesome. Jeremy?
Yeah, this is great, really cool idea. And I'm just curious. So you talked about sort of to your point about being able to get them some special product really, really quick, and sort of that convenience factor. I mean, how do you have that from an inventory standpoint, and how do you have the sort of the distribution model here, or what is the distribution model, and how do you get access to all these products?
So because we've been around for about 2 years, we've built up relationships with local entrepreneurs who've started their own brands, as well as being able to be in a position where we can connect with other brands that are just starting up within the past 5 years. Beyond that, something that I actually realized on Apple's app, you can actually get your products in really quick time using Postmates. So that's one of the things we were really looking in terms of convenience to get it straight to their door on that factor, as well as down the line, we would want to set up physical spaces. That way we could house all of these products and the Postmates workers would come to our physical space and then go out to our consumers. And so our first area that we're looking to beta test, given that we are in Boston and we've really beta tested our audience here, would be to set up a spot in Boston that we would continue to test out the app idea.
That's great. Thank you.
No problem.
Yadid?
Really cool idea. Mike, pulling more on what Jeremy asked. So is your business model to take a percentage of the sale, or is it something else?
So our business model incorporates multiple factors. The first thing is our B2B, so business to business, working with the businesses that host their products on our site. And so depending on the rate that they're at. It can either be we're buying their products from them at a wholesale price, and then we're selling it specifically and the profits are going straight to us, or we're taking an affiliate fee in which they pay a cost to sit on our platform. Secondly, we're looking at our relationship with our consumers. Obviously, the one that I pitched right now is a version focused on our freemium. However, a subscription version that we're looking at and honestly testing, talking with people who are close to us, really just putting the idea out when we go out to different pop-up shops and different events, is a way in which we can really track and really enhance someone's natural hair journey, and seeing if we could put a price or a monthly fee on that, how that would look as well. So we're looking at 2 different incomes coming in for this.
And have you given some thought about how to raise awareness for your platform?
Yeah, so we originally started as an awareness platform. Me and a couple of friends our freshman year saw the different ways that we were being engaged on campus as young Black men, and we felt as though there needed to be a platform that kind of spoke to just hair, and also talking to a lot of the other women that we went to school with and seeing how that happened. And so our original platform was really to promote natural hair in general, just to promote Afrocentric hair. And so we really transitioned into this product environment because, well, for one, we wanted to make money, but also we felt as though we could really make a bigger change here. And so leading all those put together, it's allowed us to have a good and strong social platform. So we're on all social media, as well as we have a website that's been up and running. And also having a strong presence in Boston has allowed us to continue to grow our network and customer clientele.
Thank you so much, Manny. We're over time. I want to introduce Scott and Rudina. Scott, thank you so much for doing this for what I think is the 7th or 8th year in a row now. Maybe not that long. And Rudina, thanks for joining us as well. I'm going to let you guys introduce yourselves, and I'll let you get started.
All right, thanks, Katya. You know, I love the Beantown Throwdown so much, and I love all these student entrepreneurs so much that I'm here at 7 p.m. on a Wednesday night in my home office, drinking alone. That's how much I love this event. And then I also
wine.
Yeah, I should have told you I was going to be drinking, Rudina. We were texting before things got started, but I roped Rudina in because, you know, she's not just one of the most famous venture capitalists here on the East Coast, but she has a crazy, crazy career in that she went to Wellesley College, went to Harvard Business School, has been a member of Microsoft in corporate development, and then has had this incredible career in venture capital. So, Rudina, I'm glad you could make a little time to answer a few questions. It's good to see you.
Likewise, and it's funny because the way the tables were turned, I would say, my gosh, I am graced to have Scott Kirsner know my name, leave alone know anything about my bio. So there you have it. I think that's the biggest compliment I can have for the evening. But it shouldn't go unnoticed how much you do for our community, Scott, and for the startup community and the adoption of innovation in larger enterprises. So delighted to be here.
Okay.
Hi, everybody.
Enough sucking up. I have a couple questions for you, but I would love to hear questions, you know, in the Q&A pane or the chat, wherever you want to post them, because really, you know, there's 50 plus people on the Zoom. I want to make sure this is useful to you. But the couple questions that I came up with, Rudina, maybe one to start with is just like, so, you know, when I was an undergrad at Boston University, I don't think I knew what startups were or entrepreneurship. Like, we were just starting to figure out what the internet was. But like, tell me, when you were an undergrad at Wellesley, like, what did you think you were going to do post-college?
Gosh, I mean, you know, with Wellesley, they ingrain into you that you're supposed to be serving and making an impact. So a lot more focus around how you make an impact than truly knowing what I was going to do. I discovered, I have an accent, as you know, so I'm originally not from the States. And one thing that was important in my case was visa issues. So I discovered that if you went with the bigger firms, they would sponsor your H-1B, etc. So I went through all of the recruiting, every consulting firm and every banking, investment banking firm that came on campus, I interviewed and ended up actually going into investment banking. So I was the utter accidental investment banker. But I think I got good enough at interviewing that at the time, this was 2000, I had 5 investment banking offers. And the sexiest one sounded like it was going to be the one in tech. Those guys were cool, and they were bankers that were wearing jeans. So I vividly remember that they just sounded like a lot more fun. So I did banking for a few years, but the biggest takeaway from it wasn't the banking experience itself, although there are lots of learnings there, was tech. I caught the tech bug, and from that moment on, there was no going back.
Cool. I want to skip over Microsoft just because there's probably a lot to talk about your stretch at Microsoft. But let's talk about venture capital, and like particularly for entrepreneurs that are not, that are maybe right out of college or starting a company after their first job out of college or second job out of college. How do you think those people get connected to VCs or get the first Zoom call or the first meeting with VCs in 2020? If you're not the person who can say like, oh yeah, I was part of the management team at HubSpot and now I'm doing a new company. Yeah. How do they meet VCs?
I will tell you there are more ways to do so today than there were probably even 6 months ago, in particular because we're doing so much remotely and over Zoom, which is not the same ability to interact as you're doing face-to-face, but we're not traveling, so there are more time windows. But let's take it a step back. How do you find someone like me? Gosh, there are VC scouts on your campuses everywhere. Many firms have students who work with us, whether it's through internships. I mean, for Glasswing, for our firm, it's Ignite. We have students on, the MIT campus, Harvard campus, Tufts, BC, I don't know about BU, but pretty much the Northeastern, pretty much the entire community that are actually their whole desire is to be VCs on campus. So they're sourcing, they're working with you. That's a very, very easy mechanism. And then leverage a lot of your social media and LinkedIn's and whatever else you're doing these days that's more cutting edge than old school LinkedIn. But everybody is a degree of separation removed from VCs. Use the digital, use the apps. You will look up my name, there will be 5, 10, 20 people you'll have in common. Try to come through one of those, and I'll tell you why. Look, you can also email us, for example, in my firm at in info@glasswing.vc, and someone will look at your email. But let me give you an insight into how I think about it. If in this day and age, when I have people on campus, because sourcing, i.e. finding strong founders and deals, I don't care if they're 20 or if they're 70 and everything in between. Is my job. This is what I'm trying to do, to find the best ideas and the best opportunities. If between the people that you have on campus in our communities or in digital, you can't find a way to get a relatively warm introduction to me, how are you going to break through a big enterprise customer? How are you going to get their attention and their dollars? It is my job to find you, so I'm predisposed. It is not a customer's job to find you. So it's almost an embedded, it's not the end all and be all, but an embedded filtering mechanism. Did I answer your question, Scott?
Yeah, and then you answered a couple other questions that I don't think I was smart enough to ask. But tell me, like in 2020, so I feel like I was just at your offices the other day, but it was pre-pandemic. You have this beautiful office on Newbury Street that I'm sure nobody is using right now. Have you made some investments where you have only met the founder here in Zoom in 2 dimensions?
So if your question is, have we made investments with founders that we met in 2020 during the pandemic? The answer is yes. If I've made the investments purely through digital interaction, the answer is no.
And what do you mean? What's the difference between those two?
What the difference between those two is that I probably have had 80-90% of my interactions over Zoom and calls and whatnot, but in the final stretch, when we were getting there to a term sheet, we actually met in person. I've done walking meetings. I've done meetings on my deck. I've come full circle. I live in Wellesley again, so in my house on the deck. We've done across the benches. So it's I don't think we're doing away with that physical sort of in-person meeting, but we've done so responsibly, masks on. Why? There's something to be said about that. Once we make an investment, we're in the deal for 7, 8, 10, 15 years. It lasts longer than some marriages, right? So from that perspective, we don't want to give up that final phase of diligence, which is the face-to-face, in-person, that human interaction. There's something to be said to that. Has the balance shifted to digital Zoom? Oh,
yeah. That's interesting, though, that you've been doing some in-person meetings. What's the typical first investment for Glasswing in terms of are you typically investing $1 million, $5 million, $10 million in a company?
Our average check size is $2 million, and we lead or happy to join forces with another firm or angel groups, whatever the case might be, with other groups. So it could be $2 million for a round of $2 million. The smallest check I think I've written for a seed stage has been $1 million, but typically it's two of a $4 or $5 million raise. That's when the company is raising their full-blown seed round. For what I think of more like pre-seed rounds, we have what we call a pre-seed program. And there we will write checks of 100 to 250K. It's an opportunity in high potential founders in markets that we know that are very, very early for us to help them and track them with the goal of leading or co-leading their next round.
There's a question in the chat from Matt who wants to know, how are you approaching the convergence of multiple radical developments within deep tech, i.e. artificial intelligence and blockchain, AR and synthetic bio, et cetera? Are you in fact seeing convergences between those kinds of fields, companies that are sort of blending? I don't think there's probably a startup that's AI, blockchain, AR, and synthetic bio, but you've seen it.
Yeah, I've seen some convergence at times between leveraging AI and blockchain. I've seen some instances of that. I can see down the road how, anything around synthetic computing or, brain-computer interfaces, could you leverage some ML techniques for some training? So I can see some convergence. Am I seeing the convergence full force right now emerging sort of as a pervasive trend? No. Do I expect to see more convergence going forward? Probably, but I can't pinpoint whether that's 12 months from now, 3 years from now, or 5, more like 3 to 5 than 12 though. But in and of their own, those trends are true and powerful and full force.
So, tonight we saw some pitches that were more B2B. We saw a lot of pitches that were B2C, whether it's, doing baked goods or better sleep devices, mental health software, hair care products. I think you and I have talked about this before in terms of where is the best place for a company? You see companies, Rent the Runway would be a good example, started really on the campus of Harvard Business School, went to New York. That's an obvious place for a fashion company to be. We've seen a lot of digital payments companies that get started in, I think about WePay getting started on Boston College and then realizing that Silicon Valley is the place to be. How do you think about that for consumer companies today? Can they be started on a Boston campus and stay in Boston and succeed?
It's a very good question. I would say I'm a little bit less qualified to answer that question today because for the last almost nearly a decade now, I've focused on B2B with a couple of notable exceptions. But for the most part, I would have said 5 years ago firmly no. We don't have as much, the ones you can count the exceptions in one hand. We don't have as much consumer talent, from a go-to-market perspective. I think that has changed. We have, Is the ecosystem in Boston equally developed for consumer as it is in the Valley? No, it is not. And have we made gigantic strides in that regard? Absolutely, we have. I mean, you have, the TripAdvisors of the world. You have, Care.com. You have a whole generation of consumer-oriented companies that were Boston made, Boston grown, and Boston successful. Do I see more enterprise? Do we have a bit more of an edge on the enterprise and probably life sciences in Boston than we do in consumer? Yes. So the answer to your question is there's a lot more here and opportunities to stay in consumer in Boston today than there were 5 years ago, but we still have some ways to go.
Mm-hmm. I'd love to weave in some other questions if folks have them. Rudina, you mentioned kind of one of the notable exceptions, and it's interesting sometimes to talk about the companies that didn't work out, right? You invested in this company called Jibo that was going to be sort of a, household robot, this personality that lived on the counter. Talk about like just some of the learnings that VCs get when they invest in companies that don't work out. And then I think that, there's generally a sense in entrepreneurship, like you're allowed to have a company that doesn't work out and people aren't going to ostracize you, right? They'll give you another at bat.
In fact, let me start with what you just said, because it's critically important. I don't know of any type of career where your failure is celebrated. And I think in entrepreneurship and startups, your failure is celebrated because you learn and you get to the next sort of company. I would much rather, all else equal, have someone who has failed and is hungry and has made mistakes and now they're going to fix them to get for that next thing, rather than someone that is loaded in naivete, although there is value in that. Celebrating failure is really, really important, and having the stomach for it. Jibo wasn't the outcome that we wanted. Jibo was a social robot, a lot of AI in it, a lot of sort of opportunities to be disrupted. And I think the company ultimately failed for a number of reasons. One being related to essentially the fact that Amazon crowded out the market in noise, not in substance, with what was happening around Echo and Alexa, in that, they were offering a device that had essentially speech recognition in a can, whereas Jibo was understanding your social cues, interfacing, waking itself up, etc. The delta between a $50 to $100 device versus a $900 device, and the inability to have the marketing muscle to, no matter how well funded a startup is, it's still a startup, to actually educate the market on how fundamentally different the experiences were, came into play. It was a complex platform, so it took 12 months longer to go to market. That became a critical issue in terms of, the market noise and differentiation. And then there were some dynamics, health-related dynamics in the leadership team, which one couldn't have forecasted for, which was very, very unfortunate, although everyone fared out okay in the end. That's the bad news. The good news is Jibo still exists. It's been taken, from on a B2C route from some of the large companies and at MIT. So I that warms my heart.
Yeah, but I think one of the interesting things you touched on that I kind of see a lot when I write about consumer-oriented companies is like they hit this moment where they've spent a lot of their money building the product, right? And then they realize like, holy cow, now we need to spend, if we really want to succeed, $5 or $10 million marketing this product. And they, that's often money that they haven't raised. Whereas B2B companies, they may spend all their money developing the product, but really all you need is that one corporate customer, that's going to sign the first $500,000, $1 million deal, and you can kind of get the momentum rolling that way, right?
Agreed. I think in fact, even forget the hardware piece, a component of a robotics play, but even if you think about a consumer-facing app, fundamentally, I think of consumer-facing companies as being capital intensive, because the cost of going to market and your CAC, your customer acquisition costs, can be intense unless there is a natural virality to that business, where I want to tell my friend because there is some forbidden fruit, there is something that's not allowed. There is that element. You oftentimes see virality not for, when there is something exclusive in nature to the content. Otherwise, they tend to be very capital intensive, because getting to consumers is capital intensive. So in those instances, when you have hardware and consumer facing, is a double whammy. Agreed.
So Chris has a question about which you read or watch to get insights into tech and business trends. And is that how you get insight into trends, or do you just feel like, well, I talk to enough people, I have enough Zooms over the course of the day, that's sort of where I get my information about what's happening in the world?
It's an and, not an or. There are all sorts of tech podcasts. Podcasts has become my thing. I mean, you will do the crunch bases or tech crunches rather of the world, and recalls and all that. You'll skim those, but I think fundamentally it's much more. There are tech podcasts, AI podcasts that I listen to. Those become helpful, and then we tend to be thesis driven. So I'm not making up. One of our theses is around the smart data infrastructure. Here, fundamental tech, don't hear, hardware, it's all software. How do I make the access of data and use of data for AI and enterprise cheaper, better, faster, privacy compliant? So to your point, Scott, I will go and talk to, goodness knows, hundreds of people over time as you develop the thesis and come to a view, and in the process discover a lot of startups as well, and then you refresh those. So it's proactive, and also what you receive, some trend recognition. I mean, you start seeing 1, 2, 3 startups along the same axis, for all those 3 that you see, there are probably another 30 plus globally. You're like, okay, why is this? What's the trend? And it's brewing. So it's being in the middle of it. Academia is also a very, very important facet. We do things around Sandbox and around, a lot of the researchers, whether it's, George Tenenbaum or Sandy Pentland or what have you, because while we recognize what problems need to be solved in the markets, again, especially around, B2B markets, when you have new technologies emerge, they could change the fastest, be highly disruptive in a positive way for those markets.
I should ask you about, aren't you involved in the startup called Inrupt, which is...
I incubated it.
So tell us a little bit about that. So basically you're working with the founder of the World Wide Web on a startup.
So we incubated Inrupt in December. It will be 2 years. And Tim Berners-Lee, who's also a professor at MIT and Oxford, basically has had this view around a set of open source protocols called SOLID. It stands for socially linked data. And Inrupt is providing the enterprise grade server, if you will, for those protocols. The idea being that today, our data is trapped in various applications. So I'll give you the consumer example to make it easier to sort of internalize. If I have a meeting on my calendar that, Scott and I are doing a chat, and then, after it, let's say in a normal world, I have to take an Uber or I have to, engage in some activity. Why is it that the Uber doesn't show up as soon as this event is over? It's not because my calendar doesn't know it. It's not because, I wouldn't be willing to share my data with a Lyft sharing or, Lyft ride to take me somewhere. It's because my data is trapped in these separate applications. So this notion of linked data is, look, I, in this case, the consumer, take control of my data and then can give the applications access to that data for their and my benefit, as opposed to having applications squat on my data, derive intelligence, but not be able to deliver the maximum value for me. So it's a paradigm shift. You can imagine how that applies to your health data, to your, it can be an array of applications from security and privacy, but it's a new paradigm. And it's particularly relevant in Europe and California around, if you're familiar with GDPR or CCPA, which are the new privacy rules where consumers have a lot more control around their data.
I'm just going to hop in because I see our judges are starting to come back. I wanted to give the students that pitched tonight the opportunity to ask a question or two if you guys have them. I know in our practice pitch session on Monday, I said use this opportunity wisely. So I'm going to tell you that again. Do any of you have any questions for Scott or Rudina? Both experts. Don't be shy. No, nothing? All right.
I have something.
Oh, there you go. Good.
Something. So I really appreciate it, specifically when you were talking about the organization, the company that didn't do as well as you expected. As a VC, I know you're having a lot of depending on the VC, but having conversations with the founder and understanding the founding team. From your time, when have you recognized or telltale signs that it's time for an organization to pivot, or they should try a different problem, or it's not necessarily working in the way that it should? I think, I don't know, I can say it very clearly, I'm obsessed with my problem. I've seen that in other entrepreneurs I'm friends with. So how do you actually know, are there rules of thumb or things that you've seen, determining if something is just a difficult time, or if it is actually a sign that something needs to change?
Look, I will start by saying, Brooke, that it's as much a art as it is a science. So, when I invest, the companies I refer to it as we take product market fit risk. So we can due diligence a lot of the tech and the science and whatnot. It's the risk we're taking. It's about, hey, well, what type of customer will buy this? Why? What's the price point? How do you position it? If it's a platform versus a tool, what are the lower hanging fruit use cases? So I will say the number one positive telltale of success is obsession with execution. Quickly, okay, what are my options? 1, 2, 3. How do I fail very, very fast and hone in on the right use case? So fast iteration and execution, the name of the game without fail. Now, that you are obsessed with your problem is amazing, because in the face of everything, even when others are not believers, you see something that you want to tackle and you have conviction. And believe you me, it takes conviction, because the dark hours get very dark at times. But being grounded in your conviction is important, because again, when you talk about agility, it's having the conviction constantly fed and educated with data. It might not be the wrong, you might have the right answer to the what, but the how might need tweaking. You might have the right answer to the how, but the people that are contributing to it, you might need to augment or modify. So it's a multifaceted process. And with a high-level question, I can only give you a high-level answer, but I'd say stay obsessed with your problem, but remain grounded and even more obsessed with solving it and the execution and taking the cues.
Awesome. So I know we're way over time, and Scott, I know you probably need another cider by now. So,
are you saying I bored him, Katya?
No, not at all. I'm just saying I'm ready for my glass of wine.
Is that not allowed on Zoom? Is that a Zoom faux pas to be drinking? I don't know.
Oh,
I'm sure there's some
no. In fact, I wish we had talked about this. I would have bought everybody cases of something and sent them your way. I just want to thank you both. I know it was a short chat. I appreciate it for you joining, on this event. This is one of my favorites. It makes me very sad that we can't do it in person, because the energy in person is really, really great. But I appreciate having you both here and taking the time. I also want to thank our judges. Gabby's the only one who I think managed to come back. So thank you. And I do have a winner for tonight, and the winner is from Babson, Busy Boda. So congratulations. Well done.
Thank you so much.
Yes. I'm not going to read, like I said, I'm not going to read the laundry list of in-kind prizes, but we have a lot of really great in-kind prizes. A lot of them have to do with sort of continuing education, connecting you to folks in our network here at the Enterprise Forum. And so, I hope you all can take advantage of them. And again, take advantage of the opportunity, being student entrepreneurs. There's a lot you can do when you're a student. I remember that distinctly from one of Scott's talks a couple years ago, where it says, what one entrepreneur actually said, when I was a student, people were much more willing to talk to me than, when I had graduated. So take advantage of it now while you can, and use the network wisely. But thank you, Gabi. Thank you again, Rudina. Thank you, Scott. Really appreciate it. Excellent pitches. I'm always super impressed with the pitches. And that's it. Thanks all very much for coming.
Mind if I say one thing?
Yes, go right ahead.
Because I can see in the chat that my fellow judges are actually here. We just don't see them. But I just wanted to convey, all four of us deliberated. We got Ravindra in actually as well.
Oh, good.
And I just wanted to convey that we all thought, all of the teams, every presenter was so well prepared. You had all excellent pitches. You had all thought through your businesses really well. And we were especially impressed by how well you answered all of our questions, because that's definitely not an easy thing. So we really appreciate all the work and effort that has gone into that. So thank you to all. And congratulations to Busy Boda.
Congratulations all, and thank you, and hopefully we'll see you in March for the next installment of the Beantown Throwdown, date TBD for the next 6 schools. Thanks a lot, everybody. Have a great night.